There are different size cutting tools for printmaking, and you want to choose the right one for the job. These are the blades up close, showing the size line each makes. And as you can see, the narrowest V makes a thin line and would be best used for outlines and finer details, and the widest one cuts a wider area. Here's a close-up view of how to use the cutting tool. You hold it like this. I'm using the narrow V, and that's used for fine lines and for fine details. And you can go deeper or you can go shallower. Although if you go real shallow, there's always the chance that the ink will get into the lines and then it won't really print. But you can go deeper and you can make really a nice pronounced line. This is a wider one. This is one of the widest ones. It's got kind of a square edge to it, and it makes a really wide line like this. You always have to make kind of a smooth motion as you're cutting, and you actually cut short distances, and then you have to get the shavings out of the way, like that. This works out really good for cutting large areas out. So you take one wide line and you go beside another wide line and you just keep going until you have the whole area cut out. I'm starting with the narrow blade to cut out the outline. Hold the handle like this and use the other hand to hold the block down firmly, but try to keep that hand out of the pathway of the gouge in case the gouge slips. Take your time and try to make a smooth, even line. Cut out short sections, lifting the handle when you get to your stopping point and removing the cuttings. And as you carve around a curve, slowly turn the block, more than the gouge. When a line intersects another line, as it is doing here, you don't want to accidentally cut into the other shape, like into his head. So stop before you get to the intersected line and carve in the opposite direction to complete the line. When you're cutting a sharp angle like the end of his cape, it's best to go in one direction and then to come back up to the angle and go in the other direction like this. Work at making your outline the same depth and width all the way around, unless you have a specific reason for doing otherwise. Try not to have something that's carved really, really deep and wide, and then have something that's just barely carved. Here I'm just finishing carving the outline, and then I'm going to also carve out the whites of his eyes. I think that would look good. You can make block prints by just using lines and not carving a lot out at all, like this. Just to experiment, go ahead and make some prints of just the outline and see how it turns out before you start carving any more out of the block.